Hello YouTube. How are YouTube? I'm going to do another incense review. More like impressions, I guess you could say. In my last video I talked about some of the high-end stuff, and this time I'm going to introduce some ones that are really recommendable for, I wouldn't say beginner, I mean of course beginners, but I mean if say you never tried incense before, which one do you want to try? These are really good. One of the biggest companies in Japan is called Shoeido, and in my high-end video I showed some of those. Today I'm going to talk about one that's called Nokiba, also known as Moss Garden. The US market, I think they print Moss Garden on the box there. Although it's not really, the meaning of Nokiba means under the eaves. So it doesn't have too much to do with moss, although maybe because under the eaves is shady, maybe moss would grow there, I don't know. And in fact, I don't think the fragrance has anything to do with moss. Just to show you the box, this is the long size. It's like 8 3/4 inches long, and the inner liner thing also has the same typeface and imagery on it as the outer box. So there's Nokiba in English there. And the fragrance is based on well, like many incenses, it's based on sandalwood and related woody ingredients. But this is heavy on the benzoin. Now for me, incenses are generally, can be divided into two types, one being more Buddhist related and one being more enjoyment related. And so I think the heavy dominance of benzoin in this one makes it on the enjoyment side rather than the Buddhist side. See if I can light this on the candle. There we go. I saw another incense video recommending that you don't use the lighter for the incense because of the butane. So one thing that really pointed out the benzoin factor of it was I bought this stuff called Carta d'Armenia. This is made by Farmacia di Santa Maria Novella, an Italian, originally pharmacy company. Now they do mostly cosmetics and fragrance. And this is the Italian version of a French product that was developed in the 19th century called Papier d'Arménie. And this is carta, instead of paper, it's like cards, and this is actually fairly heavy paper, so it is card-like. And the idea is that you take this and sort of give it an accordion fold, and then it says burns without flame. You light one end of it and it'll slowly burn and smoke, kind of like paper incense. But this stuff is just, well, it's quite famous for being very heavy on the benzoin. And when I burn the Nokiba incense, I can definitely smell the benzoin. And the impression it gives is kind of like rather sweet, a little bit almost like vanilla, not quite that sweet. But it's also one that will linger after you put it out. You'll know that it's been burning for some time. You'll be able to smell it. And one reason that this is good for newbies is that it's really fairly inexpensive, especially among the Shoeido products. It's not the cheapest one. I looked at the US catalog of Shoeido, and they have one that's called Daigenko that seems to be about the cheapest in the traditional style. And this one is not quite that cheap, but it's still very, very reasonable. And you notice this is a green stick, but apparently it also comes in a brown stick, and I don't know why that is or what the difference is, because I've never had the brown stick. So I'll put that one out so we can move on to the next one. Are you out? Okay. The next one is called Radio Coal. It's made by Kunmeido. Not such a well-known brand. And again, I bought the long box of this. These are said to be 8.75, 8 3/4 inches, or about 22 centimeters, and they're supposed to burn for 50 minutes. And at one time I thought, you know, I needed long incense because I meditate for so long, but I hardly ever meditate for 30 minutes at a stretch. And if I was really doing like hours of meditation, I might not want anything burning. So the regular 5.5 inch or whatever it is incense is quite good for me because it's 35 minutes or so. That's about right. But I did buy a lot of these long boxes. This is one of them. And the box is kind of interesting. It has this this is a smoke pattern, kind of stylized smoke pattern that a lot of incense-related products used, especially in the past. It has a kind of retro feel. And this is radio coal. And the interesting thing is radio. Most Japanese people won't have any idea what that means. And actually what it means is fenugreek. So I'll show you another thing about this. The inner wrapping is also very kind of retro looking. Very bright colors. Red seemed to be emphasized by a lot of the old time incense makers. And again, it has the name of the incense. And what's this creature here? Some kind of, looks like a goat or something. I don't know, kind of interesting though. And this is Kunmeido, the name of the company. So the fenugreek, I looked into that a little bit, and it's been around for a long time. They found fenugreek seeds in the tomb of Tutankhamun, and it was well known in the ancient worlds of Rome and Greece, and it was thought to have some aphrodisiac effects. And I think maybe one reason that Kunmeido chose this is actually a very Buddhistic incense. This is the main incense for Eiheiji, which is a famous Zen temple. I guess I should get it going here. That candle is kind of burning my hand, so I'm going to just light it with the lighter. Don't tell anybody I'm using butane. Is it lit? Okay, there we go. So, this is the main incense of a famous temple called Eiheiji, which is a Soto Shu Zen temple. And, you know, the Buddhist monks are supposed to be celibate, so I'm not quite sure why they decided to put an aphrodisiac ingredient into the incense. Maybe burning it reduces the aphrodisiac effect. But I think it might have just been quite a novelty at one time. And actually this box of incense included this little insert that has a nice picture of, and it mentions that the port of Sakai near Osaka has been operating for some more than 400 years, bringing in all kinds of exotic foreign stuff, including lots of incense ingredients. So you can see in the picture there, these are the foreign traders of hundreds of years ago. Look like probably Dutch or Spanish, and their ship is in the harbor in the background. It's a little hard to see. So I think maybe the fenugreek might have been just chosen as something exotic. But the effect that it gives, well, another thing about fenugreek is that it can be used to create the impression, the taste of maple syrup or the fragrance of maple syrup. And that also seems strange for incense. But I think that in the case of the incense, it's obviously combined with sandalwood and other basic ingredients, incense ingredients. So, excuse me. It doesn't really smell like maple syrup, but it does have a kind of a sweet tinge to it. So it's a very interesting and unusual thing. And I can imagine, I've never been to Eiheiji. It's a real mountaintop retreat. And, you know, one of those places where you go up on the mountain and you automatically feel you're in a slightly different world. And then to enter a big old huge wooden temple with this burning around on the altars, I think would be very impressive. So this is also quite a reasonably priced selection. If you happen to see it, it's quite recommendable. A little bit more unusual, and it's so compared to, say, Nokiba, this is a little bit more on the dangerous side, but it's not all that dangerous. Zen Temple is using it after all. So thank you, Rei-ryo-ko. Rei-ryo-ko. A little bit hard to pronounce. The next selection is from Bai-Edo, another big company, a famous old company, and this is called Kai-un-ko. This means open, this means luck, this means incense. So this incense will bring you good luck, apparently. And I think the box design is kind of interesting. It looks sort of like modern. I don't know when this box was designed. The formula is one of, they say, is one of the oldest ones that the company has, which means that it could be hundreds of years old. And but the box looks like it's like Art Moderne or something like that. Very interesting. And again, I bought the long box, but it's available in the normal size as well. And here's the stick. This is kind of unusual because it's a square cut stick. I don't think there are many brands that do this, but actually it's maybe kind of a drawback because it's hard to fit it into the hole of this kind of an incense burner. So what I'm going to do is bring out my ash bed. And this is well, actually, I started off with a little bag of rice ash, which is a very good base for burning incense. And it's not expensive. If you order incense online, the supplier might be able to give you a bag of ashes for another couple bucks or so. And so one thing about lying it down on the ash bed is that it burns up completely. If you use the little tile thing, a little bit of the incense will be left unburned in that. So this is good for two things: for square cut incense, and if you're real cheap and you don't like the idea of any of the incense going to waste. So the fragrance of this one is also kind of Buddhistic related, and the company mentions sandalwood and also agarwood, or jinko, which is another traditional ingredient of Buddhist incense. And I wanted to show you the inner label that I took off of the roll of incense. This is another nice red, bright red label that says Kai-un-ko, opening your good luck. And this has phoenixes as the decoration. Let's see if those are visible. Hope so. So this one has a very woody and exotic, the smell of more exotic woods. Sandalwood is kind of exotic for many people just by itself, but if you're familiar with sandalwood, this is even more exotic. And it also is one that will linger for a while afterwards, leaving a kind of, maybe just a little touch of cinnamon, maybe something like that, a little bit of sweetness based on wood. So those are three incenses that I recommend for anyone. And just as a bonus, I'm going to talk about one more. So I mentioned Eiheiji, which is the head temple of Soto Shu Zen. But in fact, there's another head temple. There's two head temples of Soto Shu Zen, and the other one is in Yokohama, which is not so far from me. And I went down there the other day, and I found this in their shop. And this is called Hyakunen no Kaori. That's what it says right here. And this is made by Shoeido, our old friend. And the box is quite a bit like the high-end, the premium incense of Shoeido's line. The only difference is that the color is kind of purple, and it has a lotus flower, which is a good symbol for Buddhism. And they give some, like, it's not really a description, but it's kind of like create the mood that makes you want to buy this incense. And it says you can use this on your Buddhist altar, and in the morning you pay respects, and in the evening you give thanks by offering incense at your altar. So the fact is that Sojiji, the temple in Yokohama, is not so old. It was just, well, it actually is old. It used to exist in the same neighborhood as Eiheiji, but it was moved to Yokohama about 100 years ago. So this incense is in commemoration of the 100 years anniversary of moving this temple to Yokohama area, actually near the station called Tsurumi. And so, actually, look inside. This is the typical box of the high-end, but it's just this little tiny roll. It's only about 20 sticks or so. So it's a little bit, this cost 800 yen, which is like 10 bucks, and that was one reason I bought it, because it just seemed so reasonable. But it is quite a bit in the same vein as the premium line of Shoeido. That means it has a good agarwood tone to it. And in the cheaper ones, this tone is kind of like, not simulated, but they use a little tiny bit of agarwood and then reinforce it with other cheaper ingredients, and they're really good at blending it. So this has that typical sort of agarwood and woody based smell. And the thing is that you will never find this, well, I shouldn't say never, but I don't think you can get this online. If anybody can prove me wrong, I'd be happy to hear about it. So those are today's incenses. I hope that you enjoyed this. And if you're interested in incense, feel free to comment or ask questions, or let me know if you found something interesting online. And another point is the music in the background is called Reading the Tea Leaves from a CD called Touch, which was introduced to me by the radio program called Night Tides with Renee Blanche. And she has a Facebook page if you want to get in touch with her, find out more about New Age music. Okay, see you next time.